but there's still their own section of like furry culture.
Yeah, man.
Because you have the fursuiters, you have like the obviously big portion is like the art side, and you also have like the creative side. There's furries that make literature, like just some furries just like make regular literature, like they write normal books that you'd see like in freaking Barnes and Noble, but it's just like they just like writing books, you know? And so some furries have their own podcasts. Furries make their own music, and sometimes they incorporate that furriness into their music as well, you know? And their theater and their literature, like all of those different aspects are equally furry.
Question.
You're short.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm 5'11".
How dare?
My dad's 5'11". I can literally put my chin on his head.
Who's 5'11"?
Alright, so the other question is, now this is one I've been wondering the most about, right?
Well, how tall are
Okay.
you?
Of course, I know it's not all of them, right?
Yeah.
But
Maybe you're an inch taller than me.
this might sound like a little bit of a weird question and that I might sound like I'm trolling, but I'm generally like,
No.
what about the thing I've been hearing about people fucking animals and being called furry?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
No,
not.
furries do not.
That's called zoophiles. There's not phrase. There's a difference.
There's a big difference there.
It's a separate thing, and no, it is not okay.
We don't claim them.
There's a big difference between liking
Because I see a lot of people
fictional.
making fun of furries for that, and I just want to make sure if it's true.
Furries are just
not at all.
promoting
You see more idiots are the people that
Beyond
believe
that,
the
it
rumors.
depends on
People
the
who
person.
like anthropomorphic fictional characters and people who abuse these poor animals and take advantage of them and then claim to be a part of this fandom. It's disgusting. That is
a picture
not at all.
of a dog.
What model is that though?
I'm shaking because I have a few names floating around in my brain right now. They are literally despised by the entire community because of their horrendous actions. And it's
Oh yeah, I can already think of one you're already thinking of.
we have. Yeah, you don't have to say it.
That's a glitch.
But
They can't see you. I hear the growl.
it's a shame. But we ultimately, as a fandom,
I see no one. I just see us.
we just have to overcome that reputation and prove
I see this.
that all of these creative individuals that have made the fandom so great and to be a pleasure to be a part of
Yes, and then I hear the
is bigger
dying
than those people who claim to be a part of the fandom just to use it as an excuse to commit heinous acts of horrible,
Exactly, I am dying.
inexcusable,
No,
terrible things.
not that kind of
Oh
dying.
my goodness, guys! It's not just an 80-year-old smoker.
Yeah.
It's an 80-year-old smoker.
And another thing why they are here because the furry is open fandom, so we can prevent that happen.
Yes, look.
I'm
Yeah.
two.
And you know what? I'll say this too, because I know there's also a lot of furries are notorious for being quite prominent in porn. And I know that that's a heavy subject, and a lot of furries don't want to touch on it. But I say that as long as you're being mature about it, then there's no shame in discussing it maturely.
My son's pooping.
And the part of the strength of being in the furry fandom is that everyone is being open and accepting. But it's also its biggest downfall,
I just swallowed my gum.
because as much as it gives a place for people to express themselves and to connect with other people, it's just as much of a weakness because it allows all of the other it gives like all of the losers of the actual losers of society, like a veil to hide under, to be excused. Oh no, I'm expressing my furriness. No, that's not being a furry. That's just you being a degenerate, you know? Excuse me a moment, I'm gonna get some water.
There's
Hi.
pictures.
So yeah.
Did I just hear Ratatouille?
And actually, furries if it if not if we just counting correctly, it actually date back to the Eve era, so it's big idea now from 2000 years ago.
Hey, I
Yeah.
remember you.
Whoa, no, whoa.
Like,
I remember
if you
you.
looking to the god of the
So-
Eve, you feel why?
I will say this. So as much, there's a lot more. There's more furry pro than there is furry. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like when people see it, it's just sort of like they recoil in disgust just because it's not something they've seen before.
Bring me that ass, bitch.
Obviously, people have their different interests,
Hey, don't mind that. I'm
but
just
there's
tracing it
also
out.
people
Give me that ass,
who
bitch.
don't know when they've crossed the line.
Dang.
Get back here, bitch.
Because furries have like furries are way more
See, there's not even a furry here.
sexually, like they
Yeah,
have
there is. What are you
larger
talking
sexual
about?
boundaries
Where? I
than
don't
like
see 'em.
other fandoms to express
Did not mean to
themselves,
press that.
and so they
I
can express
accidentally
all
sent
these
that
different
furry a
kinks.
friend request when I meant to sew
but
Avatar.
It's more
Hey,
it's more
hey,
like
dog, bring me that ass, bitch.
the bare minimum rules for these, as uncomfortable as it is, as long as you're not actively harming or affecting anyone, and as long as both individuals are of age and consent, and it's not obviously morally wrong or a danger to society,
Commit suicide.
then
So
it is
obviously just-
Hey,
technically
dude, man,
accepted.
I made a dog commit suicide.
And so,
Get back here, bitch.
I think I'm maybe that
and
person.
so, furries are definitely a lot more sexually
Dude,
liberating
you wanna go say hi to the furries?
than other fandoms or like cultures
You
would
do?
accept.
Okay, dude, let's go. Let's go say
And
hi to the furries. I'm
honestly,
sure
I
they'll
think
love you.
As much as anything
It's
else, this kind of thing exists all over the place. It's just kind of more
don't even know
noticeable with
why I'm
this
here.
one because it's a
Yeah.
bigger thing overall.
yeah. I will say furries, because they're all about like expressing yourself,
Oh, I can
they're
hide.
just not as
I can
afraid to
hide.
show it as say
Oh my god.
other fandoms. Because
The fuck are you
obviously
doing? He's becoming one of them.
people will. I mean, you've seen hentai, dude.
Let's
Like
go, follow me, follow me.
freaking metamorphosis. It's cursed. But like, those are all extreme examples. And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, as long as you're being respectful about it and not being a nuisance and not
Yeah.
like actively sharing your interest with people who don't want them, then you're fine.
Yeah.
As long as you obviously keep it to yourself and not being
Hi.
a degenerate about it, then it's accepted. Because
Oh.
What
that
are you
would
doing?
go against the
I'm just
fandom's values. I'll say that.
So, for me, it's furry is like the society, but the sub-society, not the big one. And it has a two coin on that thing. I mean, the one coin has two sides, like the bad side and the good side. That's what it is. Sorry for the accent.
Right. There's certainly boundaries, but it's just a matter of as soon as those boundaries are crossed, then there's immediate problems. So, I think I've covered a large aspect of that side of the fandom. And if you have any other questions, please ask.
I have a question.
Yes?
Hi.
Hello.
Huh? Okay. So if you want to learn more,
So,
if you want to learn more, I recommend watch the down the rabbit hole furry fandom. It's the document on the YouTube.
Yo.
Oh yeah, there's
Ah.
there is a very good documentary that is on YouTube, and it's called The Fandom, and it's made by a furry, Ash Coyote. So if you'd like to learn, it focuses more about the history of the fandom and the same struggles that it went through, especially during the early days. Dude, that was wild. So if you hear
Yeah,
stuff about
and
You wanna
confirmed
leave?
furries, or about like
I
the
was
different
planning on it, honestly.
convention rehauls,
Okay, I'll drop a portal.
then you'll get a lot more details about
go
that
play
in
Murder
that
4?
documentary than
oh,
Sure.
we
Give me a minute.
would like just
There go.
rattling stuff at the top of our heads, you know? Because
Where'd he
Yeah.
go?
I say I gotta do a pretty good job of like
I thought he dropped the portal.
explaining myself well.
Oh, nice.
But if you want to like see, if you want to go into the details of all that kind of stuff, then the fandom by Ash Coyote. If
Yeah,
you can check that
and-
out if you'd like.
Another one is I recommend the outer perspective from the fandom is the down to the rabbit hole furry fandom document. It's outsider, but yeah, it's still good.
Yeah. Honestly, that fandom, I think it was actually made this year. It's been one of the biggest pushes for like the free fandom to be clarified and hopefully have an understanding. Even if it's not something that brings the fandom to the mainstream light, it would at least clarify that these are people who just want to enjoy what they like, and that's that. You know?
On my side with this.
Out of respect, with respect, and as wild and different as it may be, we're ultimately still people too.
I'm actually
Uh,
right now.
And you can find furry not only in the US but almost everywhere in the world.
Because if you have somebody else with this avatar, and like,
Yeah.
have a
If you
customized
like,
voice, you just, like,
I mean,
actually, like, take it
I don't
away.
want to like make it sound like I'm plugging for Ash Coyote here, but you can buy physical versions of the DVD and versions in 4K, but it's like, I'll let you decide for that for yourself.
Actually,
If
it's up to
if
them.
you're serious and are genuinely interested, then I'll gladly help anyone who wants
But
to learn.
Yep.
If it's a lot of information to process, then that's fine. But when I get talking, I tend to spiel, and so like,
Oh, fuck off.
if you have any other
I think
things or
most of what
questions?
needs to be said has probably been said at this point.
I think I got a good chunk out there for you.
Like,
But-
there is more information if you want to seek it. If you want to, go ahead. If not, does it really matter?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what were
Okay.
we even talking about earlier? What, we were talking about red rolls, weren't we, Quargos? Like, it's at least VR chat wise in this server, this is just more of like furries meeting other furries who just want to like talk and socialize. And so I've had philosophical conversations like this of like basically anything, where it's just because people like the things they might see out on their own, and like, oh man, I almost forgot, because the different like there's a big appeal to being a furry where you can be cute and like very appealing. Personally, I'm not very interested in that. I just like there's different styles of being a furry, and it's like there's like the toony aspects where it's like, hence the name, where it comes from cartoons like the Daffy Duck and Donald Duck and like you know, and like, well, there's also more there's like semi-realistic and more realistic based furries, where it's like there's also different categories of furries, and so like the traditional walking and talking on two legs, that would be like peak anthropomorphic furry, but there's also feral furries. So where they still walk on four legs, but they still have sentience and they can talk and they're intelligence. They show intelligence. I mean, there's literally a chart. If you look it up, it's like furry
Like the ones
chart.
in the movies.
Pretty much. So like, if you take Spirited Away or Brother Bear, that would be considered like feral furries. And like, you know how like in anime where you see like those cat girls and then they have the ears and the tail, but not really much else. Like they're still basically human. Like that would be on the lowest scale of the furry scale, you know? And it's like there's different levels of furriness. Where it's like some lean more animals, some furries are basically like people but with animal heads. You know? And so it's like lots of people take it different ways. Like I would say Beastars is like on the semi-realistic scale, and then Zootopia is obviously on the toony scale. I don't know too many furry like media that is based like on absolute realism, but I'm sure it's out there. It's just not as popular to say. Because I especially enjoy Beastars because it's much grittier than, say, Zootopia, and so it gives it a lot more freedom to go into these more realistic scenarios of... I mean, it's basically, they use animals as a metaphor for, like, different, like, race tensions, like the predators and the prey. And so, it's sort of like, with the Goshi, the main character, this shy, tall, and yet very strong and capable wolf, is in love with this typical prey bunny Haru, and it's like, it's just a constant battle between their backgrounds and struggling against society, you know?
The husband
And
of
so,
the year of 2016.
I'd say it's still fantastic conflict. It's more mature than other furry media, but I also appreciate that because it gives more dimensions to the fandom besides just, ooh, cute animal, fluffy, colorful, like rainbows and all that, you know?
Pardon, but I gonna recommend another one is BNA by New Animal because it's like Zootopia but a bit better.
Yeah. BNA I really enjoyed, but I'm not totally sure it's great. I will say, it has a damn good intro theme.
Yeah. It's definitely very catchy. I would say...
yeah, no,
I forgot about
would
BNA.
recommend it, but... You know, I'm also not a great critic of media.
Yeah.
It's...
I'm not much for series when it comes to watching.
Oh my god, the hot dog.
I've never been. What the fuck is that? I've never been like much for watching a series.
Hold up.
That's cute.
Why the
Mind changing out the big avatar?
Thank you.
Okay.
Alright then. Okay, so one more question I have.
Sorry about that. Give me one moment.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, one more question that I do have is that.
Alright.
I'm in a Discord server of like memes and shit when I want to have fun, right? And so much of the time I see anti-furry shit.
My friend was just called me.
And I just want to know, like,
called me to invite me another word and say.
Yeah, like in yeah, like
Oh my god, that was rather crazy.
means like this server is now taken over by the Anti-Furry
still talking,
Association. It's like it's an
debating.
army marching,
Yeah,
you know, and shit.
talk about furry. I
All
hear
kinds
Okay.
of fucking. Also, some of them from like
Yeah.
from animation of a whole bunch of furries getting
Anyway,
slaughtered by
clearly,
fucking space
I
marines.
also gone to
Right.
sleep. So,
You
People
have
will
seen that
create
one, huh?
conflict out of
Haka,
fucking nothing sometimes.
Yeah, we just watching and
Yeah.
just still laughing at that.
Yeah. Honestly,
Yeah, no,
When-
at this
when-
point I just look at it and just go, really? Is that how you're spending your time?
Yeah.
honestly, if you've been in the fandom for long enough, all of the insults are just, they
I have.
they're not really
So
much of
generic.
anything. Like, they just bounce off. And it's just sort of like, if you take it super seriously, obviously you're gonna go in depression and blah blah blah. But you can't. They're just, it's so over the top and ridiculous, you can't help but laugh, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it happens so often, you can't. You either gotta have thick
Yeah.
skin, and it's just like, you can't let it get to you, you know?
Thank you for coming to
And,
his
like,
TED Talk.
That's why I would discourage, like, people, because I've seen freaking kids,
Yeah.
like, run around this server, and it's just, they're too young for that. They just,
Why is everyone laying on the floor?
especially when it happens so often, and, like, ultimately,
You know.
if you can't handle,
Yeah.
like, someone insulting you for what you like,
Would you like to
and
borrow
like
my book?
you're taking it so much to your heart, then it's probably not something worth your time, you know? It's just like,
Yeah.
this is what I enjoy, and I'm not gonna let some dude from Carolina who's got nothing better to do, who's lost his wife in his trailer, and he's got nothing better but to hate on furries, you know? That's an exaggeration, but it's it's just ridiculous. You can't let it get to you.
Yeah. Also, I think this is my last question before I go because my face is starting to hurt.
Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
no, that's very understandable.
Like, I've
We all
also
love that.
seen a lot of the role-playing side of the furry thing, right? Like, of course, there's like the normal role-playing shit, like things like D&D and shit, so stuff that I do myself, right? Everything. But there's the something that I do see a lot, the uwu shit, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that, as far as I can tell, it's just meme nonsense that some
Yeah.
people occasionally
Yeah.
do to be silly.
look, it's a joke within the fandom. We all know it's ridiculous because it's more like an old meme. It's almost, I would almost put it as slang, but it's more like a joke. Like, you know how, like, Mexican dudes call each other cholo or homie, or cuz and stuff like that? It's sort of like how furries will call each other, like, well, they will say to each
Yeah,
other.
or like how like maybe like gang
Oh my
members call each other the N-word. You know?
Maybe not quite. Yeah. That, you know what? I would say it's just more like, because furries certainly say it to each other, but it's just like, it's just something to make them laugh, and like almost agree. And it's just,
It's
some
basically
furries,
just a stupid in joke.
it's just
That's all it is,
a
really.
big, yeah, just one big joke, and we're all in on it. Or if you know the origins, then you're in on it too.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
And you know what? I will say, I also say this, like, furries are a lot more, again, it comes back to being very open, right? But, like, furries are a lot more, they're a lot more huggy, and, like, they've got like, instead of, like, normal handshakes, like, in real life, like, if you go to, like, a fur con and then you see someone in fursuit, they'll probably more likely go in for a hug rather than a handshake because it's just sort of like a way to express. Like furries are more affectionate. That's the word I was looking for. Furries are generally more affectionate than other people.
Like hugging instead of handshake.
Yeah, hugs instead of handshakes. So like that's the way like furries would typically greet each other. You know?
Yeah, I mean like for friends, it's like you feel miss someone. Yeah.
Use your fingers.
Yeah. If you meet like another furry friend of yours, you give them a hug, say how's it going, stuff like that. Like even to random strangers, like they're a lot more open like that.
Hello,
like,
Jude.
especially in real life, when hell, even nowadays, when like people are social distancing and
we talking about the furry fandom,
going with the pandemic and like keeping themselves away from each other.
If you want
I
it,
think
that's
that's
used
been
online.
enhanced, where like people are even more attracted to like
If you want it, that's
have that physical connection, you know?
Okay.
And so it's just sort of like
is this sort of need for that kind of physicality of it, which
yeah,
a lot of people just don't have.
Oh, hello.
Definitely.
Sorry, I don't see you. Hello.
especially I'll at least say from like the masculine side, it's sort of frowned upon to like
about furry
show
fandom.
physical affection for each other because it's sort of like portrayed as something
that I think
traditionally
is actually
woman.
a sort of side of this because it is just something that is more accepted within the fandom, and it just sort of isn't seen as acceptable in most of real life.
Yeah, because like I've seen so many times
it
of like,
ends up being a way for people to break out of that essentially.
Yeah.
Like I've also seen like
It's because it's a glitch. You should be able to see it, but
another thing is, sorry.
just like the dragon.
like,
you
I've
first.
also
PC on
seen
it, but
like
I can still see his avatar.
all different kinds of things of like two like two girls who are friends, right? They haven't seen each other for like a week and then they kiss, right?
Hey, you.
know? I've seen that.
Hey, you, Dragon, you.
Then like two friends.
It says your PC on me, but I can see you. I'm so confused.
And hug, everybody just yells out gay.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, again, the furry fandom has like a large gay, lesbian, bi population. There's a lot more. Yeah, a lot more, much bigger LGBTQ plus population, and so it's generally more accepting to like show affection, especially. I'm trying to think. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought, but it's like.
That's the state to join. Don't worry.
Yeah, furries are generally more affectionate, and it's more of a way. Oh, I should go into, like, even on the VR chat servers, sometimes you'll see people cuddling together, or even sleeping, and it's just sort of like a space where they can go away to just like relax and have fun, and like be together with other people, you know?
Yeah. For me it's like when I meet my friend join me or something like that, they mostly like hug me or petting my head in VR chat. Always.
Yeah. If you go into VR chat and go into VR server, you'll see like furries giving each other head pats or like hugs and stuff like that, and that goes into the same sort of and boobs too.
Like
don't
this.
forget those. And that sort of goes into the same idea of like expressing their physical appreciation for each other. That's all, you know. Yeah, if you've got anything else on your noggin that you want to clear up.
You know?
Oh,
I think that's it. I mean, what's wrong? I've learned
that is stupid. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's only
There's a lot more to it than what I thought. But
If there's ever any other questions you end up having in future, there's probably going to be someone you can end up asking.
Yeah. They might not be as common,
maybe,
but we're there.
Insulting you.
Yeah.
We're living in one of
yeah,
the glorious cities
you
in,
can
Italy. So why
adding
should I
out
do?
to be friend if you want to.
Fuck you, it's my city.
Yeah, if you add any one of us and then shoot us some questions, definitely. I'll gladly answer.
Gay.
Sure. I'll do it. Why not?
As a brief aside, just
that is my Italian
can I
friend.
just say I really appreciate
Dude, what are you
the
doing?
Steam VR feature of being able to dock a window.
I
to a
don't
hand
follow
and literally
the-
just have Discord up
the
attached to my
discourse.
hand at the moment.
Because
man.
I'm out of the
It is
fandom.
such a useful feature.
I stay alone.
Oh,
I just have you
oh,
and
I know there's that whole notion
my
of
Asian
like,
friend.
furries use Discord.
I am out of the
And it's
fandom.
like, personally,
What the
it's
fuck?
just a bunch of fun. Especially when we've got our Discord server right there, and we're all just vibing and cool and having fun. But then there's also those idiots that go and like the same losers that try and claim to be a part of the fandom, but then go out and do some real degenerate shit and then blame it on the oh no, I just being a friend. It's just dumb, you know?
Where is
Like,
my tea? The fuck is
it doesn't make you free from judgment at all. It just free from the ingrained societal judgment that doesn't make sense. That's what it really is.
They deflect
Sorry, I just
from
do
themselves
this.
onto an idea, and then they blame that idea for their behavior. You know?
You're fine.
Yeah, for
Why
me,
my
I
fucking
primarily
head
use it
fallen
as
down the
just for-
time?
I mean, half of it is literally just I need somewhere comfortable I can talk to people about art stuff. And
Yeah.
that's one of the places I found.
Oh my god.
I should also say this, like, about personas and stuff. It's like, there's lots of different clues, because, like, furries, there's different, because just like people in the real world, there's different stereotypes and stigmas about different species.
Oh, it's
And,
gone.
like,
Actually,
most of
has
it
a
is teasing.
slightly different aside. Like, even just the philosophy of sort of what a persona is varies between people.
Yeah.
Like, for me, as an example, it's literally just an alternative way I represent myself. But for other people, it is a character in itself.
You don't have microphone?
That's, yeah,
Like,
whole thing.
some people, yeah, some people create personas to represent themselves, but some people create characters just because they want to create characters and it's fun.
Get back here, Rain.
'Cause
Get back here.
It's just sort of
Need
like
to squish you.
it lets their
Back.
it's just another way to express, to let their imagination flow, you know, and like just create all these stories and characters.
Yes.
It's just more ways
Yeah, that
to create
also,
art and express
as you were
themselves.
saying, a whole bunch of like jokes and stereotypes about the different species, which, let's be honest,
there's
most
like
of them are nonsense.
yeah, like there's a big there's a big stereotype around I think wolves, that it's like all of the edgy people who like watch Twilight and is like, ooh, I want to become a werewolf. and it's like
what?
actually now that I think about it,
see those a lot. I'll say.
I can see you.
yeah. And then there's like
Yeah.
a big stereotype that all foxes are bottoms. Like, I don't know if you know about that, but it's like, oh, they always want to. It's dumb as fuck, but
Yeah.
you know, they're just stupid and silly, and you can't take them seriously. What's up?
Ho visto un piccolo merchetto. Oh my
else?
god.
Think.
I like this song.
Yeah.
This is my style.
Well, I think I'm gonna want to. But
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
really changed
Alright.
how I saw everything about.
Sorry, what was
birds.
that?
Like this conversation has definitely changed a lot of the things I originally thought. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
and
a lot of erroneous assumptions that happen for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
And yeah,
yeah,
that's the thing.
Honestly,
We're well aware that that's the thing. Don't feel bad about it.
yeah. Honestly,
Just learn and move on.
mhm. I can understand, like, if there's,
Oh
because
my god.
obviously there's a big fear of, like, the unknown, right? Or something unfamiliar, or something that looks uncanny. But as long as you get to actually learn it for yourself,
yeah,
and to just venture the great
Quello che ha
unknown,
detto. Oh my god.
then it just doesn't become so scary, you know? But I know it's hard for a lot of people to just
Yeah.
assume things instead of actually venturing and discovering for themselves. And it's a shame because if more people actually went out and like asked like you did and just be mature about it, then those assumptions wouldn't nearly be such a problem, you know? And so we understand it's weird, it's something
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
but
because like
we enjoy it, and that's not gonna
yeah,
stop us.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like from the start, I always like. I respected the decision. Like, I respected the like, I didn't think like, oh, furry, you know.
So I tried to invite
Right.
I was just like, yeah, I wanted to learn about them. I wanted to see like what it actually is, and
Was I muted?
so I'm happy that I did this, and yeah,
Yeah, no problem. You know what? Because as long as there's people who are mature and genuinely want to know more about the fandom, then I'll gladly answer. Because if we can
Yeah.
get at least one more person that understands where we're coming from with respect on both sides, then that's like a little bit of progress to like show that
No, a me
it's not
funzionava. Aspetta, fammelo
it's
clonare di
just its
nuovo.
own thing,
Che l'ho perso, mi sa.
and we want to enjoy it without.
Yeah.
We don't want any
Hey.
problems coming out of it. That's all, you know.
Yep.
I just want to draw
have-
silly things, not be judged for it. That's all.
Yeah, I
Literally
like
90% of it.
big talking funny animal, and that's
Free frame, but you fly.
Yes.
I gonna say big coffee animal. They are payload, so if ideal, I can sleep on that. Yes, imagination.
Unfavorite something.
No, eat him first. Hopkin. Eat him. Not a hopkin.
Sorry.
I'm not a hopkin. It don't taste like
oh
chicken skin.
yeah, there's definitely so many furry
No,
animations,
he tastes like the chicken.
and
I
like
don't.
some of them are actually made by furries, and then again it's just sort of like they just want to see things that are cute, right?
Wait, come here.
And so that's all cool and good,
Tastes very good.
but it's like it's just not my thing personally. I just like
Chicken's dead.
because there's such
No. I like this one.
because there's actually
Yeah, it can remove. It can.
or actually I think I've said this before, but there's plenty of like furries that also have legit professions, and so there's doctors and engineers and people in the military and stuff like that. And it's just a thing they enjoy. And I will say, because
it's just a hobby for people. That's all.
yeah, furries know when to keep like enjoy their hobby, and they know when to like put it aside for the sake of business, for the sake of work, for the sake of life to keep going. That's all, you know. And then them being a furry at the end of the day is like when they can take all of that normal pressure to like conform to societal norms, and then they can just sort of like release. It's like a space that is just a way to like just express themselves and release all their energy to the world, you know?
Yeah.
I gonna say we not gonna do. Oh,
I
sorry.
think I might go now.
You're gonna go now?
Yeah.
Alright. I think we've said it.
Yeah,
don't let us.
starting to hurt.
Yeah. If there's any questions, ask us. Don't let us delay you any longer.
Yeah. Take care, Sleepy, and say hi, David.
For sure. Take care out there, Alan.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Alexa won't listen to me.
You guys too. You're cool.
Yeah. Right.
So, bye.
Take care and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. I gonna say sometimes. Yeah. Good
What's
job,
up?
but sometimes I forgot that furries hobby, and I thinking about the artwork all the time.
Exactly.
I mean, that's more of like, that's more of, because I'll definitely go on long spiels about basically anything. Like, not even just furries, but like cars and computers and like all my other interests. Like, this is just one of my interests, you know?
If you get me started on something about like actual like university level math stuff, then yeah, you'll probably struggle to stop me.
Yeah. I can do the internal. I can do internal design and some stuff like that, but the problem is I always think that what did they what should I decide them for the furry thing, or what should I do for another person or myself? Yeah. Why working?
Yeah.
Why working or studying? Damn it.
Oh, I thought you crashed.
Goodness gracious. I feel that, man.
God, my frame rate is
It's
going
just-
through the floor at the
I
moment.
can, because it's easy.